if you've noticed in the examples that we've done or that you've done in the past for solving equations, you've noticed that we always seem to do the steps in the same order. We always seem to subtract the 3 first to get 2x equals 4, and then divide by 2 to find that x equals 2. So why do we do the steps in this order? Why do we take care of this addition first and then move on to this multiplication? Would it be wrong to do it the other way, to do the 2 first and then get rid of the 3? Well, the answer is no. You can do this problem in both ways as long as you do this correctly. So let's talk about what that looks like. Alright, so here's our problem represented on a scale, and we'll put a little equal sign in the middle here. So what we have, I'll write this up to the side here. We have 2x plus 3 equals 7. Alright, so we're saying that 2 x's represented by these boxes and 3 objects, we'll say weight 3, something like that, is the same as 7 objects, of that same weight. Alright, so if we do the subtraction first, minus 3 first, then what we're doing is basically, if you think of this as removing items from the scale, we are removing 3 objects from the left. Actually, I can go ahead and erase these. Alright, so we're removing 3 from the left, and then we're also removing 3 from the right. Alright, so notice that change applies to both sides of the equation when you subtract the 3. Alright, now if you were to, let's see, 2x plus 3 equals 7. Now if you were to divide by 2 first, hey, that's okay, as long as you do this correctly, right? So to divide by 2 first means whatever we have on either side of the scale, we need to basically cut that into 2 groups, or take half away, divide it in half. Right, so on the left, if I divide my 2 boxes, right, then I'm essentially getting rid of one of those. I'm dividing it in half. I have half as many boxes. And if I remove half of the items, if I divide the 3 circles in half, then I'm actually left with 1.5 items on the left. Right? And on the right, if I divide that group of 7 in half, then I've divided it down to 3.5 objects. Right? So here's the mistake that most people make. When we say, yes, you can divide by 2 first, a lot of people assume that means, oh, I'll just go ahead and divide by 2 here, and divide by 2 on the right, and then I get x plus 3 equals 3.5. And that's incorrect because in order to keep the scale even here, I had to divide everything that was on the left by that 2. So you can divide by 2 first as long as you don't neglect that 3 as well. Right, so what we actually have is x plus 3 halves, or x plus 1.5, equals 3.5. Alright, and that's okay. So which of these feels easier? Alright, let's look at these again. If you start by subtracting 3 first, now we have 2x equals 4, and then when I go to divide by 2, right, then I'm taking my 2 objects on the left, dividing that in half, and now I have 1x, and on the right I have 4 objects divided in half, gives me 2 objects, so that tells me that x equals 2. Right? If we think of this in terms of weights, then that box weighing an amount of x weighs the same as 2 of those round objects on the right. And this may feel easier if you notice in this case because you don't have any fractions. Right? So by doing the subtraction first and then the division, we kind of avoided working with fractions altogether. Whereas in this example, now we have x plus 1.5 equals 3.5, and now my next step is to remove the 1.5 objects from the left so that I can get x by itself, or find out what that box equals. Alright, so on the right I'd have to remove 1.5 as well, and I still get the same answer. When we remove 1.5 objects, we see that x equals the same weight as 2 objects. Alright, so it just turns out, in a lot of these cases, it's easier to do the subtraction or the addition first, so that you don't have to worry about dividing 3 different numbers by 2. So it may look a little simpler in some cases. Another explanation might just be we had to make an arbitrary decision as to which of these steps would go first, and so we decided to do the addition first and then take care of the multiplication. One other explanation, if you think to your order of operations, when you simplify problems, that you follow order of operations. Right, so we start with parentheses, then move on to exponents, then any multiplications and divisions in order from left to right, and then any additions and subtractions again from left to right. Right, so when you simplify, you go left to right in order of operations. So another explanation for why we solve things in the order that we do is if you think of solving as undoing or getting back to the value of x, then we're kind of undoing order of operations that's been done to x, so we're kind of working backwards and peeling things away to get back to the x. All right. So if you saw a problem like 2 times 4 plus 3, you would start by multiplying, and then you would add to get 11. Right? Whereas if we had 2 times 4 plus 3, and let's say that our goal was to get this 4 by itself, right? Let's say that that's our x. Okay, then you would subtract away the 3 first, since we're going backwards, and get 2 times 4, and then divide by the 2 and get 4. Okay, so that may be another explanation. We're kind of just doing order of operations backwards. All right, so the long answer is that you can do either step that you prefer first, as long as you do it correctly. All right, so let's look at one more example. If we had 3x plus 8 equals, let's do 17. Okay, so then option 1, all right, I can subtract 8 first to get 3x equals 9, then divide by 3 to get x equals 3. All right, option 2, I can divide by 3 first, as long as you think of this whole side of the equation as one side of the scale and realize that you're dividing everything on that side of the scale by 3. All right, so in option 2, we would do 3x plus 8 equals 17, and we'd have to divide all of this by 3, and the 17 by 3 as well. All right, so that would give us an x. 8 divided by 3, we'll leave that as 8/3, and on the right we'll leave this as 17/3. And then next you would subtract 8/3, so we would have x equals 9/3, or 3. So same answer, just 2 different options for working this problem.